Welcome to the Psychology World podcast. I'm Connor Whiteley, bringing you psychology news, articles, and other interesting psychology-related articles. Where you can find the podcast notes and more interesting psychology-related things, and you can get your free 8 psychology book box set at connorwhiteley.net. Now let's get on to the show.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 169 of the Psychology World podcast with me, Connor Whiteley. And today's episode is on how to promote a healthy brain-gut connection. And it is the 9th of September 2022 as I record this. And today's episode is simply brilliant, and I really enjoyed it because, to be honest, because the brain-gut connection is a biological psychology based, and it's all about promoting the healthy sort of like mind-body connection, and exploring this in a lot more depth is actually quite applicable. Well, because I will talk about this a little bit more in the personal update, but in the UK, the Queen Elizabeth II has died. So I suggest that this topic of being healthy and actually living longer is actually rather timely. But you will really enjoy today's episode because it sort of touches on what we spoke about in episode 101 of the podcast, and that one I was actually quite surprised at how popular it was, so this one sort of builds on it. So moving on to the psychology news section, we're reading from the British Psychological Society Research Digest, but there are only 2 articles today. So the first one is, would you notice if a gorilla started grunting during Beethoven's Fifth? Imagine listening intensely to your favourite piece of music, and just Beethoven's Fifth is not my top favourite. Counting to the beats same, or trying to pay close attention to the lyrics, when suddenly a gorilla starts grunting on the track. You'll definitely notice that, right? Don't be so sure. In a recent paper in Attention, Perception and Psychophysics, when the people were busy counting the beats or words in popular or classical pieces, they regularly failed to notice animal sounds that the researchers had snuck into the music. Wow, that was actually quite surprising, because of course you would think if you're listening to your favourite music, you know it off by heart. So if there was a sudden noise that wasn't expected, and you don't remember listening to your favourite music, then surely you would hear it, but clearly not. Wow, that's really interesting. There's not a lot I can comment on it, but that's just amazing. So the second one is, our memory is worse for things we've photographed, even when we've taken multiple photos. Well, yeah, and before I dive into it, I guess this is to do with transferable memory there, because if you've got the picture, then the chances are you will sort of rely on the picture to act as your memory bank, or whatever you use to remember it, just so you won't focus on it. So we're going back to the actual information. Many of us know that taking a photograph of something hinders rather than helps our memory of it. Lindsay Hexay first reported on the photo-taking-impairment effect back in 2014. Since then, a wealth of studies have supported it. This research has generally enabled participants taking just a single photo of an object, but given how easy it is to take lots of photos with a phone, how often do you restrict yourself to just one shot? To be honest, not many. Perhaps taking multiple photos lessens the memory impairment, or alternatively, perhaps it encourages us to feel even less responsible for remembering what we're looking at, and makes our memory of it even worse. In a new paper in the Psychonomic Bulletin and Review, you don't get to say that word every day, Julia S. Shares at Mississippi State University and Benjamin C. Storn at UC Santa Cruz reported their investigations on this using 3 lab-based studies on a total of about 400 participants. So that's what they found about the more images you take, the sort of greater it amplifies the effect. So because I already sort of commented on this before I dived into the article, well, there's actually not a lot that I can say about it, except from I suppose that whenever we take a picture, I suppose that we should actually focus on the object first of all, admire it, just we remember it and how it made us feel, and then take a picture. And even then, we would probably still forget it. Yeah, but I guess that it would be quite good for us, though, to actually focus on living in the moment and actually making sure that we enjoy every moment that we can. So I hope you enjoy the psychology news section. So let's move on to the personal update. So moving on to the personal update. So this week I've been doing lots of different pieces though, but as soon as the Queen died though, that sort of overshadowed it all. And I will fully admit I am not a royalist by nature, but I do appreciate them because of various different reasons, of which I won't go into here on the podcast though. But in case you do want to see what I've said in depth, and if you want to see me in a royal photograph, because I was at Prince, well now King Charles's 70th birthday party a few years ago. But then if you go to my Twitter account, my Instagram at Con Whiteley Fiction, or a Twitter for Sci-Fi Whiteley, or my author Facebook pages, either one, because I've shared it on both. Okay, and one on my Pinterest account, then you can see it in detail. And because of word limits on social media platforms, then Facebook is the best place to go, because you can actually get the full tribute there, though. But for the sake of showing the respect towards the Queen, though, I actually do want to read out a little bit of the post. And if you're not interested in the Queen, then I would just like to skip the personal update. Okay, so we're going back to the extract. Open quote. And the Queen was a great woman who actually did care about her subjects. I will always remember listening to people's stories about how the Queen, head of state, sat people down and actually listened to them and wanted to know about them. And sometimes they would talk until everyone else has left. That I really respect of the Queen, because come on, what rich person has that much time for poor people these days? As well as it isn't just about her status as the Queen of the UK, but I am also apprised time and time again by the Queen's ability to unite people and to bring us together. Something in these politically polarising times is very difficult, but the Queen manages to bring us all together and celebrate with her. Not just her, but to celebrate everything alongside her. And whilst I did have the immense privilege of going to Prince Charles's 70th birthday party with Youth United Foundation as part of some charity work that I was doing at the time, I really wanted to wish the new king and the royal family the best of luck going forward, and my thoughts and condolences are firmly with the royal family, the UK and the Commonwealth during this most heart-wrecking of times. Yes, that was a sort of cut down version though, but because the full extract were of the introduction from a short story collection that I'll be doing to sort of honour the Queen. That came to about 400 words though, so I didn't quite want to read that all out though. But personally, I think it'd be very interesting to see going forward, what happens, because I've actually not been alive for a state funeral before, so that'd be quite interesting. I know my university is already starting to prepare a few things over, so I think it'd be very interesting to live through and actually see like how state funerals are done and how everyone like comes together to actually see like what happens when a monarch dies. So very interesting times indeed. And as always, I always love to hear your thoughts and feelings on today's episode. So you can always email me, connorwhiteley@connorwhiteley.net. You can always leave a comment at the show notes at connorwhiteley.net/podcast. And you can always tweet me on Twitter at sci-fi-wiley.com. And to be honest, I guess I really should start like saying that you can also leave a comment on like the on the Facebook post at Connor Whiteley, psychology author, but I really don't check it like that often. I check it like once a week. And today's episode has been sponsored by Cognitive Psychology, a guide to neuropsychology, neuroscience, and cognitive psychology. So this book is the perfect sponsor for today's episode because the gut-brain connection really helps us with our cognition, and it does affect our other mental processes, which we talk about a bit more in like today's episode. But what cognitive psychology helps us to understand is how does memory, thinking, and lots of other mental processes work. Like attention, decision biases, and plenty of other neuroscience topics. So if you want a great, really easy to understand guide that helps you to understand cognitive psychology, how our memory works, and so much more, then definitely pick up this great book. So that is Cognitive Psychology, a guide to neuropsychology, neuroscience, and cognitive psychology. Available at all major ebook retailers, and you can get the paperback and the hardback version from Amazon, your local bookstore, or local library if you request it. And you can buy it directly from me at payhip.com/ConWhiteley. But if you didn't want to buy a book, but you still wanted to give the podcast a bit like one-time support, then you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ConWhiteley. So now the personal update done, let's move on to the content part of today's episode. So we're moving on to the content part of today's episode. So we're going to be talking about how to promote a healthy gut-brain connection. And because I've already done like quite a lot of like introduction stuff today, I'm actually just going to dive into it. But I did want to say first, of course, nothing on this podcast is ever sort of medical or official advice. What is the brain-gut connection? Whilst in the past the brain and the body have been thought to as two were completely separate entities that didn't affect each other in the slightest. In more recent times, we have been beginning to understand the complex and fascinating links between our body and our brain. And a great example of this interaction is a very impressive and rather stunning communication network between what's happening in our gut and our brain and vice versa. This is called the gut-brain axis. In other words, our brain and our gut are in a constant communication with each other, leading researchers and psychologists to propose that by improving the quality of the data sent through this communication network, people might be able to improve their mental and brain health, and there are 3 easy ways how this might be possible to achieve. Promoting a healthier gut immune state. The vast majority of our immune cells are based around and inside the gut itself, so it is little surprise that the gut's immune state could play a critical role in our overall health, including having a benefit or at least have knock-on effects for our brain health and mental health, as well as there are multiple connections between our brain health and the health of our gut immunity. Firstly, our gut immune signals might influence our vagus nerves, since it has nerve fibers located right next to our gut immune cells, and this carries data to the brain that might affect us cognitively and our overall state of our brains. Secondly, our gut immune system could send signals into our bloodstream, and then these signals get to our brain, where they could affect brain health. And whilst it is very tough to know how exactly each aspect of a person's lifestyle could affect gut immune state, it has been suggested that too much stress might lead to our gut lining becoming damaged, resulting in an increase of molecules from our gut that could activate the gut immune cells, leading to our whole body to become inflamed. This has been linked to worse brain health in several studies. Therefore, at the most basic of their levels, by consuming a balanced diet that is rich in vitamins as well as minerals that could help support a balanced function of our gut immune system overall. And whilst it certainly seems to be the case that the gut microbiome and our gut immune cells spend a lot of time communicating, so by tackling or helping our gut microbes with the balanced diet suggestion, we are most probably helping our gut immune cells as well. Personally, this is something that I love about psychology and our biology as a whole, because everything is interconnected, and in a therapy context, yes, that technically makes it harder for us to help our clients, but also makes our jobs more interesting, exciting, and skillful. And to me, that is definitely something to celebrate. Prioritizing a more balanced gut microbiome. Maybe this one should have come first, but we'll all get the same information in a moment, because right now there are trillions of bacteria in your gut, and they're communicating with our gut cells, as well as they're influencing our immune and nerve cells just below the gut lining. These bacteria make up a lot of our gut microbiome, and it is believed that their makeup could seriously influence our brain-gut connection and our overall gut health, as well as some early research has found a connection between changes in a person's gut microbiome and a risk for brain conditions ranging from depression, Foster et al. 2001, to dementia, Luke et al. 2001. Whilst in the grand scheme of things, it is still too early to draw any firm conclusions about the impact of our gut's microbiome and mental health conditions, it is still beneficial and maybe an unofficial good idea to start taking better care of our microbiome. Some basic ways to do that is prioritizing dietary fiber like whole grains, nuts as well as seeds, fruits and vegetables, and polyones. These are plant nutrients that provide plants with vibrant colours and anti-stress benefits. As well as eating more fibre and polymons has been linked to better brain health, Yuckerman et al. 2022, and it is believed to help us promote a healthier gut microbiome, P et al. 2020. Focus on a good sleep and being in time in nature for setting up your brain for gut friendliness. I'll be the first to admit that the title of this suggestion does sound like guru rubbish, but there is a lot of support and evidence that I'll get to in a moment. Therefore, what this section means is that it is important to remember in the gut-brain connection that it is a two-way street. Is bidirectional, to put it in more scientific terms, as well as whilst it is great to prioritize gut health to promote brain health, it does also work the other way round. For example, researchers have studied the effects of people being briefly exposed to nature photos and found that brief exposure was enough to influence people's thinking, Berry et al. 2014. More specifically, they found when people looked at nature, people made less impulsive decisions, which is exactly the sort of choices that makes us stick to food that is good for our gut, rather than us falling for the junk food that damages our gut and overall health, Berry et al. 2001. Therefore, it is just critical to remember that what we put into our body physically can and does affect us mentally by impacting our cognitive processes, such as decision making. Additionally, researchers found our decision making, they were using this as a brain function measurement, can be dramatically impacted by our lifestyle factors. For example, if a person misses out on a good night's sleep, then it has been linked to a stronger preference for sugary foods. Tarry and all, 2020. And in teenagers, an increased amount of unhealthy food is eaten compared to gut healthy food at the ratio in all 2022, suggesting that by optimizing our brain health with a good sleep, this can help us to make better choices that promote our gut health. Conclusion. I always like to return to these stranger little topics within psychology, because I tend to find that they help me to remember to be humble. And to be honest, I actually know that that's a really bad term, or just not the right word to use it, but I couldn't think of anything else. In psychology, to some extent, because in psychology, we often forget the basics of everything is connected. There's always so much more to learn, and we will never be able to even scratch the surface of human behaviour in the grand scheme of things, because there is simply so much to it. And I know lots of the students and the professionals might question, then what's the point of it? If there's no chance of ever learning everything about behaviour, but the point is, the more we try, the more amazing things we discover, the more we learn, and most importantly, we can then apply this new knowledge to older problems and hopefully improve people's lives in the first place. There are so many amazing things to discover in psychology, and that is what keeps me going with my learning, books, and the podcast, because I'm always waiting and ready to learn something that's brand new and possibly life-changing. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's episode and that you got something out of it. I know that I did, because these sort of little strange episodes are always absolutely fascinating. And if you know someone who would enjoy today's episode, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the podcast. And definitely check out Cognitive Psychology, a guide to neuropsychology, neuroscience, and cognitive psychology, available in all the usual places because that will really help you get a good understanding of cognitive psychology. But if you didn't want to buy a book, you still wanted to give the podcast a bit of one-time support, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. So have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see the show notes, then please go to connorwhiteley.net. And if you want a free 8-book psychology box set, then please go to connorwhiteley.net. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.